This country, under this APC regime, came to become the poverty capital of the world. It became the place where the minimum wage became the miserable wage for workers.
But if you think about Nigeria itself, it's an open prison.
We're starting to see that the people of Nigeria have woken up.
We'll be talking to Mr. Sowore, who is a politician and also an activist and was at the forefront, or is at the forefront, of the End Bad Governance protest since the 1st of August this month.
Yes, indeed. We'll also be speaking to Ibrahim Farouk. He is the program coordinator of IAGA Africa, a non-profit organization promoting participatory democracy, human rights, and civic participation. And he also shares perspectives on the role of civil society in these events. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sowore. Mr. Sowore, first off, let's ask you an evaluation of the past 9 days, today the 10th day. What's your view on the direction the protest has gone so far?
Well, it has been very, very successful, and I'm not saying it because we're involved. It is my own assessment, and we're starting to see that the people of Nigeria have woken up, and the sleeping parts of Nigeria are also waking up. I watched this morning a clip by a group of Nigerians known as Patriots visiting Tinubu in Abuja, asking him to start the process of making a people-oriented constitution. That's our number one demand out of the 15. And they made an eloquent request about the need for it. I cannot speak to the processes they suggested because that's not something that we are interested in right now. But people are waking up, and they also made it very clear that they told Tinubu and his security agents not to kill people who are legitimately asking for their rights. And you have seen that there's been a lot of rush in terms of interventions. Suddenly, they're releasing money left, right, and center for grants. They are making all kinds of efforts to to make sure that Nigerians are calmed down. But it is for us a little bit, too little, too late. But this is 10th day as I'm speaking with you. Abuja is on the streets to for the grand finale, and I think Lagos will join soon. Port Harcourt will do so. But we must not forget to mention that a lot of high-handedness, extrajudicial killings, and a lot of shenanigans by security agencies would not be overlooked. This was completely terrible handling of Nigerians who are asking for their rights peacefully that we saw in Kano, we saw in Kaduna, even in Lagos, where thugs were driven to various centers where protests were happening to beat up peaceful protesters and even journalists, including your journalists. I'm surprised that you didn't ask the Lagos guy why they decided to send thugs to beat you guys up. But that's a conversation for another day.
Oh, yes, indeed. Speaking of the demands and the protests, today is the last day. Demands have been made, and the government, the president has come out to address it. And you also talked about somewhat of a negotiation or some sort of talks on the sidelines. But if I'm correct, about some days ago, you posted a non-negotiable list of demands that are core demands of the protesters. And those non-negotiable demands, I must have to ask, this is day 10, right? If it's non-negotiable, do you think that it has been achieved then?
No, this is day 10 of a series of revolts that will hit Nigeria if these demands are not met within a period of time. And let me let you in today, being the first, sorry about that, being the first station that we will tell this, that these protests will resume from the beginning of October. And it might even resume earlier, depending on situational variables. And when we start in November, we will not stop until these demands are met. So already that conversation is going on among planners and organizers and the public, members of the public about this. So
just to get it right, 1st of October, which is Independence Day.
Yes. Well, they're on Independence Day. We want to fight for real independence starting from that day.
Now, I must ask, given all of the situation that have occurred during the hashtag #EndBadGovernance protests, from the dispersing of protesters with live bullets, ammunition, to the curfews that was imposed, as well as the events that we saw in Kaduna and Kano, do you think that still going back on the streets to demonstrate is the answer to call for these demands?
Yes, because that's the only language they understand. They don't understand any language that is just mere sending letters to them. But this is not about sending love letters to people in government. People have been cheated. People have been abused. They have been deprived of their fundamental rights, social, economic, and political rights, and they're asking for redress. And so there's no going back in terms of there shouldn't have been a break, but it was the decision of those who are planners and organizers of this that we do our first 10 days as a rehearsal, and the main thing would hit after that.
Mr. Sowore, certain agencies, governmental agencies, immigrations, finance and all, have talked about a certain scrutinies regarding people who they consider sponsors of the protests. First question is, are you a sponsor of the protests here in Nigeria? One, and if you are, have you noticed any indication that you are on some sort of watch list, whether by the immigrations or by the financial institutions here in Nigeria? And also your roundabout view regarding that watch list.
That's the people who should be on watch list. The people who created hunger, starvation, and unemployment, not people who are trying to erase it. But we are Nigerians and we understand how they think. The second aspect of it is that I have been on the watch list of Nigerian government since 1992, when I was part of the student leaders in Nigeria that fought against Ibrahim Babangida, then general and head of state, during Babangida Moscow. So I don't know why they are wasting their time mentioning watch list again. The third aspect of it, yes, we have our organization, the Take It Back movement's account at UBA was frozen, and it still remains frozen as we speak. And when they reached out to us, they claimed that they can't find the documents we used in opening the account, which is ridiculous because there's no way you can open an account without documentation. But we know the game, and but it's also important on the fourth note and last that the individuals who are in these agencies who are making this ridiculous, utterly ridiculous and illegal statement should understand that there's no law in Nigeria or internationally that allows any citizen to be placed on watch list when they have not committed any crime known to your own Nigerian laws. So it is completely illegal, irresponsible, and reckless on the part of the immigration person to say that they are watching some people from diaspora, and as a result, if they come into the country, they'll hand them over. For me, I don't even care. Anytime you want to hand me over when I come back, I'm ready. And my bag is always packed. And I'm sure many people who got involved in this knew that there's going to be, they're in it for a long haul, and I'm not worried about this.
Sir,
I know you asked the question if I'm a sponsor.
To be absolutely clear, did you just say that the Take It Back movement is responsible for or has been sponsoring the protests, just so that we're clear?
They are championing the protests.
Championing.
It's different from sponsoring.
Different from sponsoring. Could you tell us the difference between the two?
The protest is sponsored, or the revolt is sponsored by hunger. That's the main sponsor of the revolt.
Mr. Sowore, I have to ask you, right? The truth of the matter is that protests are fundamental human rights for voices to be heard and for dissent, whether or not, especially in a democracy like ours, you know. But we have seen in situations, or rather we've seen in past cases, for example, the Arab uprising, where we saw, a spring uprising, where we saw different protests that set the stage for geopolitics, and it to be when intervention did come in, and that we saw other countries now take full ground, and then these countries are finding it a bit of a slow starts to somewhat of a normalcy with their governance. And I have to ask you, if you are asking for this protest, are you ready, given all that we've seen with Kaduna and Kano, with the waving of foreign flags? What are you doing, and what are the organizers and the sponsors doing, and the people at the forefront, to make sure that this protest doesn't set the stage for geopolitics and intervention of other, foreign entities?
There's no foreign entity here, and you must understand the context in which people are waving flags. All right, they're waving flags that they said was from Russia, and some of them have explained clearly and qualitatively that they don't feel like Nigeria supports their aspirations. So they're using that to spite the bad governance that has become Nigeria's situation. We also suspected, and we have made it clear, that this might be the handiwork of fifth columnists, because we've seen the military trying to make some moves. They're going to barricades, acting nice, and we condemned immediately that we don't support military rule. So no military should come and hide under this protest and take over power. And you realize that since we made that statement, the military guys and the flag wavers have also kind of tucked themselves back in. But there's no crime in waving any kind of flag. No crime in waving Russian flag, Palestinian flag in Nigeria. There's no law that says you can't put up a flag of another country during protests. That's why they call it protests. It's sometimes you use it to object to your own socio-political objective conditions, and say that's why they call it protest. And on the day of protest, people do things that they don't do on normal days. So don't let us make any big deal about waving Russian flags. But we have condemned those who are calling for military takeover. That we don't want the military. The military in Nigeria is worse. Worse than the military anywhere. I've experienced military rule before, up to 1999. I've lived in Abuja for 5 years, and I saw the senior military officers. They are as corrupt as their civilian counterparts. They are the ones who rig elections. They are the ones who abuse you. They are the ones who went and shot innocent protesters at Lekki Toll Gate. So don't even pray for or wish upon yourself military rule. And bad governors also include those guys in the military and the security forces, and we want to put an end to all of that.
So you have condemned those calling for military rule, however, not the waving of the Russian flag. However, there are laws that say that this is treasonous. However, my focus now would be the loss of lives.
Before you proceed, tell me which law says it's treasonous. Because I may not be a lawyer, but I frequent law courts a lot in Nigeria.
Yes, sir,
can you tell me which section?
By the sovereignty of any country, it is treasonous, actually. And also note that they burned the Nigerian flag.
You can make a pronouncement on TV, on national TV, or people watch internationally. What is treasonous about waving the flag of another country during protests? Tell me. Because I've faced treason charges before, so I know a bit about treason or treasonable felony.
We will make that the focus, sir. But I have one question regarding the loss of lives that have happened during the protest. We've had 21 people who have lost their lives. There was a procession yesterday inside of Lagos from Ojota all the way to Alausa, although they didn't get there. However, you've also talked about the fact that there would be a series of these actions, these protests that will continue. You've mentioned October 1st, that's one of those dates. What would you say to the loss of lives, and what reorganization would you make as a proponent of the protest so that there is not a reoccurrence of loss of lives?
The protesters and the organizers are not the ones killing protesters. It is the government. We've recorded so far almost 40 people killed by the police. Some of them at execution style. The army killed somebody in Zaria. And we've seen even police kill themselves. There's an immigration officer in Maiduguri who barricaded himself in an attempt to prevent protests and shot himself 3 times and died. So this is part of the problem we have. We have a lot of unprofessional persons that are handling little weapons. But that is why you saw that the protesters in Lagos yesterday also called for the removal of the IG, whose tenure expires, by the way, on September 4. I am also in support of that call that he should be removed. I'm in support of the call that the Commissioner of Police in Abuja be removed, and also that the Minister of FCT, Wike Nayeson, be removed as well. These are some of the 3 people that have escalated the protest more. And the army was trying to inject itself, as we were discussing earlier. You saw the Chief of Army Staff asking media not to cover the protest, and then later on threatening that they'll get involved. We have responded appropriately that the military has no business getting involved. And I believe that so far they have conducted themselves in ways that respect this view. We don't know what they will do next, but we know what we will do next, which is to reorganize ourselves and hit the streets bigger and harder.
For the next batch of protests starting from August 1st, October 1st, I beg your pardon, would it be another 10-day protest, or would it be just a continual thing until the demands are met in its entirety?
I think we're going to go back and discuss with organizers and after today. But let's give kudos to all the organizers, very brave men and women across the country who have carried on for these 10 solid days without wavering. And we're asking the authorities to release anybody that might have been arrested, whether in Kano, we have about 1,000 of them, in Yobe, and to lift the curfew they illegally imposed in Plateau. So we are going to reorganize and meet again and decide how we want to do it. But I think the general sentiment is that it should be a rolling protest, especially between October 1 till October 20th, which should be the annual anniversary of the Lekki Toll Gate killings. So, but this decision is not for me alone to make. I'm just expressing to you sentiments of some of the planners that we've been talking at the back end.
Mr. Sowore, I have to ask, will you be available? Would you be on ground to join the protesters at the forefront?
You know, when we had this conversation the first time, I told you that first the protest will happen, which most of you did not believe. Second, I told you I would participate fully, which some of you thought was my own way of saying or being semantic. It wasn't. I have participated fully in this protest in ways that most of you couldn't have imagined. The world has moved past where you live or where you stay to do protest. Or what is important, and which we have proven, is that everybody that committed to making this protest a success did their best from wherever they are. So if I'm going to participate physically, which is what you're asking, you will see me, and I'm sure that will happen one of these days soon. But the most important thing is that we all participated in this, including you guys, because I saw you guys in the media took a lot of heat, tear gas, and then just seeing your Lagos guy being rough-handled live on TV broke my heart. So thank you all. Also.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just doing our job to bring the news to our viewers. But I have to ask, you said that you have contributed to the protest in some way or the other. I want to know, just to be clear, what were the roles besides being there physically?
Well, you know, when the protest happens on this scale, there's a lot of departments making things happen. So should I disclose to you exactly what I was doing? That will be for another interview in the future when we have won.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sowore. Thank you for joining us and giving us your view so far on the past 9 days.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'll see you guys physically one of these days. So we'll be in the studio together. Maybe after I return from prison. Because
Mr. Sowore, thank you again.
Mr. Sowore, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nigeria, they use computer. The leaders of Nigeria, they use radio where they turn the knob.